G'day, it's Guesty here. Well, today it's all about catching some live bait. As far as live bait goes in this part of the world, I'm talking yellowtail, I guess of the predominant species, slimy mackerel, pike, you know, larger size tailor to a degree, but generally those first three are the ones that we're chasing in an offshore environment. There's things going on everywhere here. Your sound is really key to try and find bait fish. Quite often the yellowtail are sort of more balled up and around the bottom and harder on that sort of bottom section, where your slimy mackerel will be right up in the water column, especially early in the morning. So you can differentiate between the two when you have a look at your sound, and once you learn what you're catching. And when you're catching slimy mackerel, have a look on the sound to see what they look like when you're catching yellowtail, so that you work it out. And if you're really targeting something with a, you know, I guess a marlin or a big Spanish mackerel, and you want a big slimy mackerel, you know, you might want to drive past the yellowtail and find the ones that you're really looking for. First things first, some old stale bread rolls. They'll go in the burley bucket. So we'll get a bit of burley happening. I've got some old pilchards here that I've had in the freezer for a little while. I never throw all that bait out. It's always handy for this sort of situation. These have been frozen and refrozen a couple of times, so they can go in the burley bucket. Let's give that a bit of a good munch around and get that burley trail starting to happen. So we've got that going on now. Wash my hands. Righto. So what we're going to use is a conventional sabiki style bait rig. So this one here is size number 10. So the bigger jigs that I'd use out on the continental shelf for catching big slimy mackerel, I don't want in here. I'm looking, you know, today I've got the harbour estuary system behind me, and there's mulloway in there, so I'm wanting sort of yellowtail around that size up to about that size, so those smaller jigs are the go. So these little bait fish rigs come with a swivel at this end, a conventional swivel, and a snap swivel at the bottom. We'll use the snap swivel to connect our sinker to, but you can just easily, like, they're designed just to pop out so you don't get all tangled up. So we'll start at this end. A quick improved blood knot at one end here. We'll tie that on, and then we'll get our sinker clipped onto the bottom, and away we go. So just a nice small sinker. I'll finish pulling that out. We'll just see how they just pop out like that. Keep your hands away from them. They're quite sharp, those little hooks. And then when we get to the bottom, one more to go. We've got our snap swivel, so I'll get rid of that cardboard, put that in my pocket. Standard sort of style sinker. Depends, quite often you can just open that snap swivel up and it'll go through the eye of the sinker. This one might be too big. If it is, that's cool. What we do there is just make a loop in the bottom part of it, feed that through the eye of the sinker, like that, and then just feed your snap swivel back through the loop that you make. Depends on the style of the sinker. Sometimes you can actually just clip them on. Just do that, easy as that, and you can easily push that back through and undo it. Don't go too light on your sinker. If you get a string full of liveys and your sinker's too light, what happens is they'll just wrap the whole thing up. So you do need a bit of weight so that when it's in the water, it does actually keep a bit of tension up, and you're keeping that line stretched. And as soon as you hook that bait, you want to just keep nice even tension so they don't all tie up and get tangled. So have a look at the sounder here now. We can see we've got bait right through from top to bottom. So our burley trail's working, and I'm going to keep tapping away on that. So they're all yellowtail. There might be the odd slimy on there, but we've got really a diverse sort of lot of bait. Hopefully there might even be a pike in there somewhere as well. All right, let's see if we can't catch a couple. So one bit of a trick, add some scent. If you're a bit of a lure fisherman, you can just add a little bit of scent to your jig. Makes all the difference at times. The little bucktail jigs that are woven into that will attract the fish anyway, and you've got little glow beads on there. But even just a little bit of scent makes a difference. Or if you haven't got any scent, another thing you can do is grab one of these pilchards, break it open. They're ones that I'm using for burley. You can, if it's real tough, you can even add a tiny bit of bait to them, but just add that pilchard scent to your jig. It doesn't matter what you got, bit of squid, anything. It just adds a little bit of flavour as well. I think we're going to be pretty right here to catch a couple. So when you lower it down, this is what a trick one of my old game fishing mates showed me years and years ago. So when you lower it down, to make the jig sort of dance around and come to life a little bit, you just let it run through your fingers. So you'll see the rod tip, it will just be bouncing around. I don't think I'll get too far down there and we'll be away, and we're on already. It wasn't too hard. The burley's working really nicely, and I've got a couple on. Here we go, straight away. 1, 2, 3, there you go, first drop. So wind that up so you've got nice, that one's fallen off, which is good. And just work your way down the jig. Yellowtail are pretty good. They're not too spiky. So hold it gently in your hand. My live bait tank's just here. Got it on and ready to go, so make sure you're prepared in that respect. And then we'll just bring this one up to bigger one. So 3 different sizes there really. The one that fell off was a smaller one. You can see that jig's just pinned that one in there. But that's a nice, quick, firm grip, straight off, straight into the tank. If they were, and that's a smaller one, if they were slimy mackerel, you want to try and shake them off as much as you can without handling them. Even a wet rag's a good way of doing it. The biggest thing with keeping live bait is having that aerated water pouring in. So my bait's set up really well. I've got a fantastic pump here that just drives the water through, and I reckon I've got enough there. There's probably 30 yellowtail, 25, 30 in there. That's plenty for a session chasing a mulloway in the harbour, which is what I might go and do. But you can also get mobile ones, so ones with little aerators. I use them before when I'm catching herring off the shore, drop that aerator in the bucket and keep things alive, so you can do it that way. If you don't have any of that, then you've got to continuously be changing that water. So if you're fishing shore base, maybe have 2 buckets, one that you can go down, scoop some, and when you pour the water in, drop it in from a big height. Drop it in, pour it down. But today in the boat, live bait tanks, if you haven't got one set up built in like this, then you can always retrofit one in later on. So easy as that.